Greetings, valiant warriors of the Dust Bowl. My name is ArraySeven, and I am bringing you a tutorial on how to combat medic. Long since my very first video, I perfected the art of becoming a combat medic. Now, looking back on it, I realized I didn't exactly do it justice. So today, I take it to the next level. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to How to Combat Medic Revamped. Look at this poor sap. You see this guy? He's playing medic. He has to cater to every loser that calls for him, keeping that pathetic little medigun trained on everyone who's too lazy to go find a health kit by themselves. And God forbid he get involved in a firefight because the other team is going to pick him off like the blonde who goes in the basement in a horror movie. In other words, he's this team's bitch. Now let's compare his demeanor to that of the combat medic. This guy is a badass. He's got a sword drawn, his medigun put away, and that look in his eye every disgruntled worker has just before he shoves a fax machine down his boss's throat. He's about to step onto the battlefield and introduce himself to the red team one bonesaw to the face at a time. Now ask yourself, who would you rather be? If you said this guy, go home, grab a tub of ice cream, and keep watching your daytime television. If you said this guy, you've earned your right to be a medic. That doctor wins games. That doctor wins wars. One of the key elements to being a combat medic is your loadout. The first item in your arsenal of pain is the Blutsauger. Some will say that the Blutsauger is the worst medigun primary to use, after which I remind them that this little piece of God's feces exists. The +3 health on hit will save your life more than you think. It rewards you for shooting people in their bread and butter, and as a combat medic with any other syringe gun, you'd be doing the same thing anyway, so you might as well go for it. Now, your secondary is entirely at your discretion. Personally, I use the default medigun for the sole reason of being a bonk medic. If you don't know what that means, click here for a short explanation. Otherwise, you are completely free to choose whichever medigun you like. Not that it matters though, you'll be using it about as much as the English use a toothbrush. And, finally, you'll be needing the holy grail of the combat medic, the item second to none in Team Fortress 2, the weapon of mass disruption itself, the Bonesaw. The Bonesaw is God, the Bonesaw is overpowered, the Bonesaw is by far the mightiest weapon in the game. Bonesaw beats everything, the minigun, the rocket launcher, the sniper rifle, all pale in comparison to the pinnacle of Valve development. Now there are some out there who think that the Ubersaw is a much more viable weapon of choice than the Bonesaw, to which I simply laugh and plow a blade in their face. The Bonesaw would Michael Vick the Ubersaw in a heartbeat. Same with the Vitasaw and Amputator. They're all jokes and are blown away by the Bonesaw's awesome might. Some will also argue that the melee reskins like the Pan, Hamshank, or Freedom Staff are just as good as the Bonesaw. Unfortunately, they are mistaken. The reskins of the Bonesaw are only to be used if you have one in a special quality. Unique item reskin replacements of the Bonesaw are an abomination of God, just like the church thinks homosexuality is. Just like running a brothel, having good equipment helps tremendously. Cover yourself in hats and cosmetics. You play much better if you're the most badass Yorg out there. Take my combat medic Loadout for example. Strange professional Blutsauger? Check. Strange gold bot killer medigun Mark II? Check. Strange professional Bonesaw? Check. Battle armor? Check, check, and check. All that's missing is an unusual Berliner's bucket helm and a professional killstreak medigun kit, both of which are underway, as soon as they stop being so ridiculously expensive. Being a combat medic takes advantage of something called the medic effect. This is the phenomenon discovered by Jesus in the late 1800s. The medic effect is a peculiar instance where the enemy is faced with two or more opponents, one of which being a medic within melee range, and all the other targets within medium to long range. The victim will 9 times out of 10 focus on the much more dangerous classes who are an imminent threat and ignore the medic about to plow his face through with a clip of syringes. This is your major advantage. Players believing you aren't a threat and underestimating your raw power and might. Another key factor is taking the least direct route possible to the enemy. While the combat medic is the most powerful thing to ever step across the threshold of the battlefield, he is by no means bulletproof. So simply skirt your way around the front line like Bill Riley in Russia and give the other team a nice brush with death. You'll come down on them with syringe rain and bonesaw lightning strikes, punishing them for every mistake they made countering you. But bear in mind, just because you're a combat medic does not mean you have to be a dick. If you see someone calling for medic and their health is in the red, heal them for a second or two. There's no shame in supporting your team. Gain your honor and defend it too. You are a god, and that's the major beauty about a combat medic. It's counters everything and nothing at the same time. You're running at them with that "I'm going to give you a boo-boo" look in your eyes, and all the while the enemy is backpedaling like a male nurse in a homeless shelter, throwing everything they have at you to attempt to prevent their inevitable death. There is no countering the combat medic. There's no stopping it. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been ArraySeven How to Combat Medic Revamped. Draw your sword, prep your needles, and take back the Dust Bowl.